Hi everyone, I'm His Lordship, the leader of the Wilderness Guardians. Almost 2 months ago, I made a video about why I thought the Runescape community was dying. And I got an unprecedented level of encouragement and criticism in the form of 50,000 views at the time of this video and also 1,300 comments. And I have read every single one of those and taken all of your ideas on board. I would love to say thank you so much for the enthusiasm. I really could not have expected that level of support. And you know, even to think about it, I am very blown away. So I promised a video to follow up on that one regarding Jagex's response. They have contacted me and I have some mixed news about that. Firstly, the original mod that I showed it to, Mod Math, he would prefer to have his opinions kept to himself. So to your detriment, I'm not allowed to share any of his opinions because that's a very personal conversation. I did, however, get the next best thing, which is something from Mod Matt K, who's the mod in charge of old school RuneScape, the community aspect, and his reply will be shown to you guys shortly. I will keep trying to get a response from someone in the RS3 community, hopefully Mod Pi, who's the big shot in terms of PvP in RS3. And as soon as I get a video, I will get that posted up, and I will also relay your sentiments onto him if I can. However, I'm not going to try to get the EOC removed as so many of you suggested, because I just think that would be an impossible fight. I would much rather spend my energy trying to nerf it and getting as much of it simplified as possible rather than removed altogether. That seems more likely to happen. So yes, leading on, because of this incredible response that I got, I feel compelled to make more movies and keep you guys informed, not just about this very specific situation, but about broader aspects of the game. I realize that I am jumping onto the RuneScape video bandwagon incredibly late, but I've got 3 things about my movies that I feel are going to differentiate me as a video maker. One being, they will be less frequent, so you won't get bombarded with a stream of things, but of a higher quality. So you're not going to get things based on every update planned or released, but really hard-hitting stuff. Also, I'm going to heavily feature your comments and your feedback and messages in my videos. So if you post a reply that I think stimulates a lot of thought and discussion, I'm going to screenshot that, put it in my next video so that other people can sort of let your ideas sink in. So I want to be a video maker that encourages a lot of discussion rather than just commentary. And that leads me on to my final point. Instead of just observing the game as it is, I want to work with you guys in a very proactive way. I mean, I regularly attend RuneFest, every year. So in that sense, I'll be able to communicate with Jagex at that level. I know 1 or 2 JMods, not particularly closely, so please don't ask me to get your accounts unbanned or anything like that. I don't have that sort of power, but I can communicate, and I can communicate, I like to think, in a pretty convincing way. I'm not the sort of guy that's going to walk up to Jagex and scream at them for updates I hate. So everything's going to be constructive in that sense. Also, if you're going to subscribe to me, which I really hope you do, because this support, makes me feel really motivated for this game and its future. But if you are going to subscribe, please do realize that I am a clan leader. So every now and again a video will come up related to my clan, the Wilderness Guardians, which if that doesn't interest you, you can happily ignore. Though if you're an avid PKer, you might find it of some interest. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the heart of the conversation and have a look at what Jagex have thought, and also what a couple of other guys have thought as well. Let's start by getting into the response from Jagex's own mod, Matt K. This is the guy who runs the old school community. Known him for years, absolute legend, and definitely has the interests of the PK community at heart. Take a moment to pause and read his reply. So obviously this comes from his old school perspective. He can't really speak on behalf of RS3. This Wilderness update, if successful, might help the game recover. I'm not so sure how much it would do on its own though. We can only remain hopeful. I'm certainly optimistic, but in my mind, there are a few other things that need to be done to make Old School last as a game. If this works and PKing takes off again, you can expect Mod Mark to be paying close attention to his version of RuneScape. On the topic of RS3 versus 07, I've got an upcoming video about that. Have you ever wondered what total beginners think of both versions? Which one is the real future? Which version would truly be more popular in today's game industry? I get some real life friends to make accounts, I even pay for their 07 membership, and they go through the tutorials and give me feedback along the way. Now, it's not comprehensive market research, but it's a good indicator. That'll be up in a few days, I hope, so please say subscribed, or subscribe if you're interested. Now let's look at some other replies to my last video. Sorry I couldn't fit a lot in, but rest assured I did read all of the comments without fail. Okay, firstly, Tresorade, hope that's how you pronounce it. I would disagree with you, but I can't be certain. Here's a graph I found of just Old School play accounts since April. You'll see that numbers for the last 6 months have been quite steady after the expected drop-off, but don't forget how likely it is that bots are increasing. How much of that number is actually bots, I don't know. I do know, however, that PK Clan memberships are all way down from where they were before. If the Wilderness updates fail to attract people to PKing, I can expect further decline. IC9126, I really hate key bindings, but that's just my opinion. I liked the old system of clicking for all actions and typing for all communications. It was simpler and, hitting enter first might not seem like a big deal to most, but it's one of my pet hates. And Hoodfelon, let's be reasonable here. I've been playing for over 10 years, so I do know how to adapt. Skillers can continue having a great time, that's fine. But considering how much attention you've been getting since 2007, I think you could afford to sit back for half a year and let the PKs have a go at improving the game. Somehow, I think you'll manage. I'm Dux. You don't have to eat feces to know that it tastes bad. Anyway, a number of PKs did try the EOC, and I can't think of many, if any, who liked it. Blaming PKs and calling them stupid for not being able to handle RS3 is like calling someone stupid because they don't like the same music as you. Don't forget, Jagex have also admitted very loudly that PvP in RS3 is broken. Envy does spec? That would be nice, but I'd have an easier time assassinating Justin Bieber. Let's be practical, this is highly unlikely. If you won't accept the compromise I suggested of a massive EOC nerf, then your second best option is to make RS07 the more popular game so that the company reconsiders their priorities. To T-Man Thomas and the other 6 trillion people who said this, sorry about that. Lesson learned. John HP, we really don't. Clan Wars directly competes against the Wilderness and will suck activity out of it. All those resources and Wilderness updates will be wasted if there are no teams and clans out there too. Have a look at a movie I made 2 or 3 years ago now, 2 years ago, called The Wilderness An Unauthorized Biography, and give me your thoughts on my concept of the food chain in that. Mod Matt certainly seems to agree with me, at least in Old School. Yeah, me? I can definitely see why you've given up on Jagex, but I believe in the power of Jagex to listen, or else I'd not have made this video. The thing is that change takes time. The Old School update that's coming up on revitalizing the Wilderness was actually inspired by the Wilderness video I just mentioned a few moments ago, and I made that 2 years ago. But it's happened in Old School, and I consider that a partial win. If this update does the trick and helps Wilderness activity, ModMark could finally recognise the merits in fixing PKing in RS3 as well. Noobonzify? I picked yours out of a number of replies that suggested some non-EOC worlds. Are you sure that would be a good idea to split 2 versions of RuneScape into 3? It's a pretty fragmented game, isn't it? I worry for new players who could get confused over all the blogs and updates, blurring all the versions into one confusing mess, and I think Jagex would agree with me, so it's very, very unlikely to happen. And BMX Mark and many others, I'd love to be proven wrong, to be honest. I would really love to be wrong. But the statistics don't lie. A lot of you criticised my last video for lacking proof, so here are some graphs. This one is the last 7 months of RuneScape. The one to notice is the green line that shows both RS3 and 07 numbers. Looks like we've been holding steady, right? But let's zoom out a bit to 10 months. There's the drop. Sure, we've recovered a tiny bit in the last 8 weeks, but that's hardly a cause for celebration. And here's a Google search graph, not to be taken as gospel for RuneScape's popularity, but a good indicator nonetheless. Look at how the search rate has plunged since 2007. This graph here says traffic to runescape.com is down 41% in the last 12 months. Again, that shouldn't mean as much as the actual players online, but it should still count for something. And here's some stats starting around 2007. Yes, there were plenty of bots, but there weren't any bot nukes back then, so why is the graph going down? Oh yeah, that's right, it's because the wilderness was removed in December and people were quitting. Don't mind the gap in the graph, it's just a gap in the statistics. And finally, an article from December 2004, before bots got out of control. 90,000 active players, hey? So pretty much 50% more than what we have 10 years later. Hope that proves the point, RuneScape is dying. Mark Donalds, yes, it's true that people outgrow the game, but those players should be getting replaced by new kids. The fact that the game is shrinking means that only our generation found it to be a good game. That says a lot. Chris M, I'm sure you're right. I didn't mean to be so forceful in saying PKing was the only way to play RuneScape. The game can survive without us PKers, but it would be a real shame to lose that player base, and trust me, there are a ton of us, or rather, there were. And you noob, you might be onto something, but my hunch says that's not the way to go, simply because most PKers liked the simplicity. Incorporating the inventor skill into PKing just complicates something that was perfectly fine. We already have to deal with too many new items and a bunch of other hurdles. Why make the learning curve steeper? Elvia the Legend? Now this is a great idea and is the most popular demand for 07 from what I'm reading all over the place. It's just so unlikely. Not impossible, but unlikely. In order to get free-to-play old school, we need to prove to Jagex that the game is legitimately worth opening up to free players and not just a fad as the statistics are starting to show. And I know how difficult that is to achieve if we don't get that first. Own twice. This comment really got me thinking. It's weird how RuneScape players seem so attached to the game, even after so much disappointment. There is something special about RuneScape's player base that differentiates it from other games. I don't know why the PKers are enduring so much torture, the remaining ones at least. Okay, Freak, that's a little too far to the other side. PKers do need skillers, as I explain in this video and also the Wilderness biography. It doesn't have to be PKers versus non-PKers, it is totally within reason to have both sorts of players. Yes, Monkey, total agreement. I'm actually making a video to come after this, as I mentioned before, and you'll get plenty of info relating to this very idea of simplicity and whether RS3 is in fact too complicated. Cave Goblin. In this case, PKs can legitimately know the game better than Jagex because we do have thousands of hours stacked up as players, and we've used the Wilderness more than Jagex has. But yes, a lot is hidden from us, I must confess. Still, the statistics showing the decline are somewhat worrying. I can only suggest what I personally think the best solution is, and then leave it for Jagex to absorb and consider. Okay, well thanks for watching, guys. Please post below because I am going to continue providing feedback on your comments and generating some useful discussion as I promised. So whoever can give some really powerful discussion, I'll definitely bring into my next video. Thank you so much for your support, and please keep it coming because I am going to keep fighting for the welfare of PKs so long as I play this game. Who knows how long that will be. All the best, guys.